You feel trapped, don't you? You run from one place to another, chasing goals you don't even remember choosing, constantly moving because someone told you that staying still is failing. And yet, every night, when the external noise stops, something inside you whispers that you're lost. It's no coincidence. Modern society has sold you a lie so shiny you couldn't resist it. Movement is progress, action is power, being busy is being alive. But here's what no one tells you. Most people who run non-stop never get anywhere. They move out of fear, not direction. They flee from themselves while disguising it as ambition. How many times have you filled your schedule just to avoid facing the silence? How many times have you said yes to things you didn't want to do simply because saying no meant being alone with yourself? That's where the real terror lies, not in external failure, but in confronting who you really are when no one else is watching. The hustle culture has turned you into a movement addict. You believe that if you stop, you'll fall behind. You think stillness is weakness, silence is emptiness. A lie. Stillness is where clarity is born, silence is where answers are heard. But you can't stand it because when you stop, the uncomfortable questions appear. Do I really want this? Is this mine, or was it imposed on me? How much of my life have I lived for others? And those questions hurt, so you start running again. You dive into projects, obligations, distractions, anything to avoid being present. Eckhart Tolle put it brutally. Human beings will do anything to escape the now, because the now reveals what is really happening. And what's happening is that you've been absent from your own life for years. You've lived on autopilot, reacting instead of creating. You've allowed the world to dictate your rhythm, and now you're exhausted, empty, wondering why nothing feels like enough. Here comes the part you didn't expect. The man who stays home, the one who stops, the one who rejects the collective frenzy. He's the only one who truly moves forward. I'm not talking about laziness disguised as philosophy. I'm talking about something much deeper. I'm talking about the ability to be present, to not run, to look inward without fear. Because while everyone runs outward looking for answers, the one who stays still finds something the others will never have: awareness. And awareness changes everything. It's not that you stop moving, it's that you begin to move from a different place. You no longer react, you choose. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer get lost in the noise because you've learned to hear the silence. But let's admit it, this scares you. The idea of staying home, slowing down, saying no to the next shiny opportunity terrifies you. Why? Because you've confused identity with activity. You think you are what you do, and if you stop doing, you stop being. False. What you do is just the surface. What you are lies underneath, waiting to be discovered. But to reach it, you have to cross the panic of stillness. You have to endure that feeling that you're wasting time while others move ahead. Spoiler, you're not losing anything. You're gaining the only thing that matters. You're gaining yourself. While they run chasing ghosts, you build from the roots. And what is built from the roots doesn't collapse at the first hit. Think about this. How many of the achievements you chase are truly yours? How many were born from a genuine need, and how many from the fear of falling behind? Most people don't live their lives, they live the life expected of them. They move like programmed automatons, repeating patterns they never questioned. They work on things they don't care about, pursue goals that aren't theirs, all because at some point someone told them that's what they're supposed to do. And they never stop to ask, does this make me feel alive, or does it just keep me busy? There's a vast difference between being busy and being alive. The busy person is anesthetized. The alive person is awake. The busy one reacts. The alive one responds. The busy one flees. The alive one faces. Now comes the uncomfortable truth. The world needs you to keep running. Modern society depends on you not stopping, because if you stop, you start to see. And when you start to see, you stop consuming without questioning. You stop accepting without thinking. You stop obeying without asking. The system is designed to keep you in constant motion, because a man in motion has no time to reflect, and a man without reflection is easy to control. So they bombard you with manufactured urgencies, artificial deadlines, the constant pressure to measure up. Measure up to what? To standards that change every season. It's the perfect trap. You run faster and faster, but the finish line moves at the same speed. You never arrive because there is never a real destination, only the promise of one. The ancient philosophers knew this. Lao Tzu wrote, "He who controls others is strong. He who controls himself is powerful." But controlling others requires constant action, vigilance, brute force. Controlling yourself requires something much harder, stillness. It requires you to sit with your demons and not run. It requires you to face the emptiness you've been filling with compulsive activity. It requires courage, more courage than any external battle, because on the outside you can pretend, you can perform, you can hide behind achievements and titles, but inside there's only you and the truth doesn't negotiate. Now let me paint you a scene. Two men. One goes out every day, runs from meeting to meeting, fills his calendar, posts his progress, makes sure everyone sees how much he does. The other stays home in silence, observing his thoughts, questioning his motives, building from within. Which one do you think is truly advancing? The first is busy building an image. The second is busy building a foundation. The image collapses at the first blow. The foundation withstands storms. But here's the trick. The world applauds the first and questions the second. Because the world sees movement, not transformation. The world measures success in visible activity, not in invisible depth. So the second man must endure not only his own process, but also the judgment of those who don't understand what he's doing. And this is the hardest part. Most people will never understand your stillness. They will interpret it as laziness, lack of ambition, surrender. They'll tell you you're missing opportunities, falling behind, that you need to move. And part of you will believe them, because you've been conditioned to associate value with visible productivity. But here's the brutal truth. Their misunderstanding is not your problem. Their inability to see beyond superficial movement does not define your path. Tolle said it clearly. The ego needs to do. The being just needs to exist. And existing, being present, requires more strength than any frantic action. Because in presence there's nowhere to hide, no distractions to save you, only you and who you truly are. Let's go deeper. Why is stillness so powerful? Because it's in stillness that identification with the mind dissolves. All your life you've believed you are your thoughts, that you are that voice in your head that never stops. But you're not. You are the space where those thoughts appear, and that difference changes everything. When you identify with your thoughts, you're their slave. Every fearful thought paralyzes you. Every anxious thought consumes you. Every doubtful thought stops you. But when you realize you are not those thoughts, that you only observe them, something is freed. Suddenly, the fear is still there, but no longer controls you. The anxiety exists, but no longer defines you. The doubt appears, but no longer paralyzes you. Because you found something bigger than the mind, consciousness. And here's what's fascinating. that consciousness is not found in movement, it's found in the pause. It's found when you stop doing and start being. But being is the hardest thing, because being means relinquishing control. It means accepting that you don't need to fix everything, solve everything, change everything. It means trusting that there is a deeper intelligence operating, something wiser than your agitated mind. And for the mind, that's unacceptable. The mind wants to control, plan, anticipate. The mind hates uncertainty, which is why it keeps you busy. Because if you're busy, the mind has something to do, problems to solve, a future to build. But in stillness, the mind runs out of work. And when the mind runs out of work, panic appears. That's why so many people can't meditate for even 5 minutes. That's why so many fill every second with stimuli. That's why silence has become unbearable. But here's the irony. Everything you've been searching for outside is inside. Every answer you chased in books, mentors, courses, experiences was always within you. You just couldn't hear it because there was too much noise. The noise of the world, yes, but above all, the noise of your own mind. And that noise doesn't stop until you decide to stop it. It doesn't stop because someone gives you permission. It stops because you choose silence. And choosing silence in a world that glorifies noise is a revolutionary act. It means saying, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not running this race anymore. I'm not chasing these ghosts anymore. Now comes the question that changes everything. What would happen if you stayed still for a month? I'm not talking about isolating yourself from the world. I'm talking about stopping the external search, stopping the compulsive consumption of content, stopping the filling of every moment with activity, stopping the escape. What would you find? At first, discomfort, boredom, anxiety, all the withdrawal symptoms of an addiction to movement. But if you move through that, if you don't run from that discomfort, something emerges. Clarity, real direction, not imposed direction, genuine desires, not programmed ones. And suddenly, when you begin to move again, you move from a completely different place. You no longer pursue, you create. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer get lost because you know where you are. Those who have truly achieved something lasting know this. Look at any genuine creator, any real innovator, any person who left a mark without needing to shout. They have something in common. They know how to be alone. They know how to be still. They know that true creation does not arise from hustle. It arises from space. Picasso disappeared in his studio for months. Einstein walked in silence for hours. Tesla lost himself in thought for days. None of them were running from event to event, from meeting to meeting. They were still present, connected to something deeper than the world's superficial urgency. But this isn't just for geniuses. It's for anyone willing to stop. The problem is that stopping feels like dying. Your identity is so tied to what you do that when you stop doing, you feel like you stop existing. That's why most people don't try. They prefer the illusion of progress through constant movement rather than facing the void of stillness. But that void isn't empty. It's full of everything you've been avoiding. It's full of the questions you haven't wanted to answer, the emotions you haven't wanted to feel, the truths you haven't wanted to see. And yes, it's scary. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. Tolle talks about this constantly. The ego lives in time, always in the past or the future, never in the present. That's why the ego needs movement, because movement fuels the illusion of time. If you're always going towards something or running away from something, the ego has fuel. But when you stop, time collapses. Only the now remains. And in the now, the ego cannot survive, because the ego is a mental construct that needs past and future to exist. In pure presence, there is only consciousness, only being. And that is what the ego fears most, its own dissolution. So what does it really mean to stay home? It's not a physical place, it's an internal state. It's returning to yourself. It's stopping the search for validation, purpose, peace, happiness outside. It's understanding that all of that is already here. You've just been ignoring it because you are too busy looking elsewhere. Staying home means saying no to the world when the world asks more of you than you can give without betraying yourself. Staying home means choosing depth over breadth. It means building a life from the inside out, not from the outside in. And here's the final secret. When you truly stay home, when you genuinely find that inner center, the world begins to come to you. You don't have to chase because you emanate something different. Opportunities appear, the right people arrive, situations align. Not because you're special, but because you're aligned. You operate from a place of integrity, not need. And the world responds to that. It always does. But most people never get there because they can't bear the stillness necessary to find that center. So I'll ask you directly, can you stay still? Can you let go of the need to always be doing something? Can you trust that you don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even to yourself? Because that's where the true arrival lies. It's not an external destination, it's an internal state. And that state is not reached by running, it's reached by stopping. The man who stays home is not escaping the world, he is finding himself. And that encounter is the only journey that truly matters.